Hi everyone, I'm Wendy, and today I'm showing you what I like to keep in my whole food plant-based pantry. And if you stay till the end of the video, I'll show you how to use these pantry staples to make really quick meals. First up, I always keep a variety of beans and legumes. I like to keep a combination of dried and canned beans on hand. Of course, the dried beans are cheaper, healthier, and tastier, but they take some time, and I don't always dedicate time to cooking my own. So canned beans are really handy. I always try to get cans that have a BPA-free lining and those that are low sodium or no salt added beans when possible. Here's a list of what I personally like to keep, but keep plenty of whatever are your favorite varieties of beans. Next up, whole grains. My pantry is never without rolled oats and steel-cut oats. Whole oat groats are also fantastic. Plus, I always have different kinds of rice, including brown rice, black rice, and wild rice blends. I also love quinoa, farro, and sorghum, which are all becoming easier to find, often in the regular grocery store. And you can keep it simple with just a few different kinds of grains, but I love some variety and there are so many out there to choose from. So I often have other grains like millet, teff, polenta, fonio, and more. These can be more difficult to find. I usually get them in a natural food store or online. But you don't have to have anything fancy to stick with a whole food plant-based diet. Just keep a big stock of whatever whole grains you can find at your local grocery store and you'll be all set. I also like to keep some whole grain and legume-based pastas. There are so many different kinds to choose from now. I love a good old-fashioned whole wheat pasta, but these days there are so many gluten-free options that are really good as well. I personally love lentil pastas, and there's even some really cool pastas made out of different vegetables now. Next up, some other canned goods that I like to keep include all different kinds of tomato products: diced tomatoes, crushed tomatoes, fire-roasted tomatoes, tomato paste, and tomato sauce. Like with beans, I try to get no salt or low sodium options. If you can find it, there's also no salt added Rotel, which is great for adding tons of flavor to any dish. But my favorite way to use it is to make my whole food plant-based Rotel dip. Then I also keep tons of cans of pumpkin because I put that in my morning oatmeal every day. But it's also great for adding to soups and desserts. Next, I keep extras of my favorite condiments. I usually have salsa, several bottles of mustard, ketchup, maybe a barbecue sauce or two, tamari or soy sauce, and all different kinds of vinegar. The ones I always have are apple cider vinegar, balsamic vinegar, red wine vinegar, and rice vinegar. Another great item to keep on hand, and that can be used as a condiment or an ingredient, is nutritional yeast, or more affectionately, nooch. It's absolutely not necessary, and many people have digestive sensitivities with nooch. I myself can only use it in small quantities, but it is great for adding a bit of cheesy flavor, and also, when added to soups and stews, it gives the dish a great umami flavor. Although I don't bake all that often, I do keep a few items for baking. I usually keep some whole wheat flour for bread and pizza crust, cornmeal and masa flour to make my cornbread that I recently shared with you all, date sugar and date syrup, baking powder, and baking soda. For chocolate-flavored baked goods, you might also consider keeping some cocoa powder or cacao. I have a caffeine sensitivity, so I avoid these and instead I use carob powder. It's not exactly the same, but it has a similar chocolatey flavor without the caffeine. I also already mentioned keeping rolled oats. I often use oat flour in baking, but I never buy it. I simply make my own using my supply of rolled oats. I also like to keep some shelf-stable plant-based milk in the pantry. I don't drink it or use it on a regular basis, so these shelf-stable options are really great to keep on hand for whenever I need it for baking. And I like to use options that only have 1 or 2 ingredients, like this almond milk that's made with just almonds and water, and soy milk made with just soybeans and water. Then here are a few other miscellaneous items that I have. I wouldn't say that these are essential, but they're nice to keep on hand. I have some Plant Strong stews. These are pre-made meals that are really great for when you're short on time. I also have a couple boxes of vegetable broth. More often than not, I just use water in recipes that call for veggie broth, but it's nice to keep on hand for gravy and other recipes. I like to keep this bottled lemon juice for times when I don't have fresh lemons on hand. Applesauce is also a great ingredient for using in baked goods to make a nice sweet treat without sugar. Then I always have various kinds of herbal teas because I love drinking tea. And finally here I have a couple of unsweetened jams. These are just naturally sweetened with the sugar from the fruit. And they're also great for keeping on hand to make sweet treats without refined sugar. Finally, I keep lots of spices. Again, you can keep it really simple and just have 1 or 2 of your favorite go-to spices. But if you'd like to have a full spice pantry at your disposal, here's a list of the spices I think are most common in American cooking, and this is what I keep on hand. If you like cooking international foods, look up the most common spices of your favorite cuisine and keep those on hand. I also recommend keeping some spice blends. These are my favorites, and there are so many different kinds of spice blends now. So if you're intimidated by creating your own recipes and not really sure how to combine spices, you could simply buy already mixed spice blends and only use those to make really simple and delicious meals. There are many available in regular grocery stores now, but if you're avoiding added sodium, just watch out for salt, which is often added. Well Your World is an online store where you can get all salt-free products, including many delicious spice blends. Last but not least, there are a few perishable items that I keep in the pantry, including various kinds of potatoes, onions, and garlic. I prefer red onions, so that's what I most often have on hand, but I also love yellow and white onions occasionally. And I pretty much love any kind of potato, so sometimes I have russet potatoes, Yukon Gold potatoes, red potatoes, and any kind of variety of sweet potato I can get my hands on. And it's not exactly the pantry, but I do also want to mention the freezer. If you have the space and the funds, I highly recommend getting a chest freezer. I got this small one for a really great price from a Sam's Club. I'm sure Costco would have something similar as well. Having a chest freezer is so convenient because you can't fit all that much in your refrigerator's freezer. And I love to keep copious amounts of frozen fruits and vegetables to help me stay on track with my healthy eating. A chest freezer allows you that freedom. Frozen fruits and veggies can be just as tasty as fresh, plus they're cheaper, more convenient, and you're likely to waste less food. How many of us have bought too much fresh produce that spoiled before we could use it all? And I don't use too many bread products, but in my freezer I do also keep some Ezekiel bread and tortillas and some whole wheat pitas. The freezer is also a great place to keep nuts and seeds so they last longer, whereas if you keep them at room temperature, they can go rancid much more quickly. So now that we've covered all my pantry staples, how do I actually use it? Having your pantry fully stocked can save you in an emergency. If you ever can't get to the store for whatever reason and you run out of fresh food, it doesn't matter, you'll still be prepared. In the last several years, I've had multiple refrigerators go out on me, so I was without fresh food for days. But with my pantry staples plus my chest freezer, I can make a meal in no time. And it starts with a little saying that my mom and I came up with when we first went vegan: beans, greens, and grains. Often when people first go vegan or plant-based, it's almost like we feel lost and don't know what we're supposed to eat. We're so used to a certain way of doing things that revolves around animal products, and when you remove that one thing, we often forget about everything else that's there. But with this simple saying of beans, greens, and grains, my mom and I could always whip up a meal, and that's exactly how you cook from your pantry as well. Now, you don't actually have to have each of these 3 components for every meal, it's just a template to get you started. So it kind of goes like this. First, grab a bean. If your pantry is well stocked, you'll always have lots of options. Next, add some greens, or just more generally, any vegetables you like. Since we keep our freezer stocked, we always have different veggies to choose from. Finally, grab a grain to round out your meal. I also often include starchy veggies like those potatoes that I keep in my pantry. Once you have all your main components, grab a spice blend or a condiment and throw it all together. It really is as simple as that. One of my favorite quick and easy pantry meals is to combine brown rice, black beans or lentils, frozen bell peppers and onions, and then I top it with some salsa. Often I'll also have this with a potato. It's so simple, so easy, and absolutely delicious. Sometimes I go even simpler than that and just have a potato with some broccoli or other frozen veggies. I top it with a little balsamic vinegar, maybe a salt-free seasoning blend, and that's it. Often when going plant-based, people make it too complicated, and it doesn't have to be. Keeping your food simple will help you to maintain this lifestyle in the long run. And simple doesn't mean you're depriving yourself. Simple food can be really delicious. And as you saw by all the different variety of beans and grains and spice blends, your meals never have to be boring. If you'd like to print a copy of my list of pantry staples, there will be a link in the description box below the video. Hit that thumbs up and leave a comment below if you love a well-stocked pantry. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time.